All right, welcome to another deep dive, everybody. Today we're taking a look at, well, I guess you could say the holy grail of relationship advice.
Ooh, aiming high right out of the gate, huh? I like it.
Well, gotta keep things interesting for our listeners. And this one, honestly, this stuff is seriously interesting. We're talking about John Gottman's 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work.
Okay, now that's a title that gets attention.
Hmm.
7 Principles, huh? Lay it on me.
Well, luckily for us, Gottman laid it all out in a book. Decades of research distilled into, well, 7 key insights about what makes relationships not just good, but truly lasting. And we're going to unpack all of that for you today, whether you're looking to, I don't know, bulletproof your own relationship, figure out what went wrong in the past, or just understand how this whole love thing is supposed to actually work.
Sounds ambitious. But hey, if anyone's cracked the code on love, it's got to be Gottman.
That's what they say. I mean, the guy spent years observing couples in his love lab, even hooked them up to sensors to track their heart rates and all that. And the crazy thing is, he can predict with like over 90% accuracy whether a couple will stay together just by watching them for a few minutes.
Wow. 15 minutes to tell if you're going to make it or break it. Talk about pressure.
Right. But seriously, that level of accuracy, it means he's onto something big. And the best part is, his work isn't just about avoiding fights or anything like that. It's about building a really solid foundation of friendship and understanding so you can handle whatever life throws at you as a couple.
And let's be real, who wouldn't want a stronger relationship? I mean, studies show it's not just good for your heart, it's good for your health, even your immune system. A good marriage is like a superpower.
No kidding. So yeah, today we're diving deep into Gottman's 7 Principles, no matter where you are in your own relationship journey. And hey, we know this can be kind of a sensitive topic, so we're approaching this with, a healthy dose of objectivity and respect.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
Awesome. So, principle number 1, build love maps. What in the world does that even mean?
Love maps, think of it like, those old school maps, the ones with all the little details, all the winding roads and hidden landmarks. It's like that, but for your partner's inner world.
So basically knowing them inside and out.
Exactly. Knowing their stresses, their joys, their hopes, their fears, even the little things that bug them. It's about staying curious about who they are, even if you've been together for, I don't know, 100 years.
Because people change, right?
Yeah.
And relationships have to grow along with them.
100%. And Gottman actually gives this great example in the book about Nathaniel and Olivia. Super busy couple, both have demanding jobs, but they still manage to stay close just by doing little things that show they're paying attention.
Like what?
Like remembering an important appointment, sending a quick text to check in, just acknowledging each other's lives, even when things are hectic.
So it's less about grand gestures, more about those everyday moments of connection.
Exactly. And all those little moments, they add up to something Gottman calls positive sentiment override. Basically, when you have a strong foundation of friendship and you really know your partner, those good feelings, they tend to outweigh the negative ones.
Okay, so even when you disagree, you're less likely to jump to conclusions or assume the worst.
Exactly. It's like having this built-in buffer that helps you navigate conflict without, blowing everything up. And the coolest thing is, it's not just about thinking positive thoughts. Gottman actually has this love maps questionnaire you can use to gauge how well you really know your partner.
A test for love. I'm intrigued.
Well, not exactly a test, more like a starting point. It asks things like, can you name your partner's closest friends? Do you know what's stressing them out right now? Who's been getting on their nerves?
And if you can answer all those, you're golden.
Pretty much. A high score on that questionnaire is actually a strong indicator of marital stability. But even if you don't ace it, it's a great way to start a conversation and deepen that understanding.
I love that. And he has other exercises too, right? Like that 20 questions game, but focusing on deeper stuff.
Yeah, he calls those who am I questions, really getting into fears, hopes, how you've changed over time. It's about going beyond the surface stuff.
So building these love maps, it's not a one-time thing, it's an ongoing process.
Absolutely. Relationships are always evolving, so your understanding of each other needs to evolve too. It's about staying curious, staying connected, and yeah, maybe even playing some games along the way.
I like it. All right, principle number 2, share fondness and admiration. Okay, this one sounds pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to it than just saying nice things to each other.
Oh, definitely. This is about way more than just surface-level compliments. It's about actively cultivating a culture of appreciation and respect in your relationship. It's the antidote to, well, all that negativity that can creep in over time.
Negativity like taking each other for granted.
Exactly. And Gottman, he actually calls contempt one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse.
Yeah.
Like the relationship killers.
Dramatic, but I get it.
Right. But seriously, when contempt takes root, it can be really hard to come back from. That's why nurturing fondness and admiration, it's like this essential defense mechanism.
So even when you're frustrated or annoyed, you're still actively choosing to focus on the good stuff.
Exactly. And this isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything's perfect. It's about choosing to see your partner through a lens of appreciation, even amidst the imperfections.
The book has this really powerful story about a couple, Rory and Lisa, who were on the brink of divorce. But then through therapy and a lot of hard work, they started focusing on their positive feelings for each other.
Did it work?
It did. They managed to turn things around. It was like they rediscovered why they fell in love in the first place.
That's the power of this principle right there. It's about actively remembering and cherishing those good qualities, even when things feel tough.
In Gottman, he doesn't just tell you to do it. He gives you actual tools, like that cherishing your partner exercise, where you write down 10 things you love about your partner and then give specific examples.
Okay, so it's not just about thinking it, it's about articulating it.
Exactly. And he suggests making this a regular practice, like every day. Take a moment to remember a romantic moment, appreciate something about their physical presence, just actively choose to focus on the positive.
So it's like building a habit of appreciation.
Exactly. Because when you focus on what you love, it becomes harder to dwell on the things that bug you. It's a powerful shift in perspective.
I like it. All right, what's principle number 3?
Principle number 3 is turn towards each other instead of away. This one is all about those small, everyday moments that can either build connection or create distance.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. Less about the grand gestures, more about the little things.
You got it. So Gottman talks about bids for connection. It can be anything, a question, a touch, a shared joke, even just a look. It's basically any attempt to engage with your partner to get their attention or affection.
Like, hey, look at this funny meme. Or, can you pass the salt?
Exactly. And turning towards means responding positively to those bids, showing that you're present and you care. Turning away, well, that's the opposite. Ignoring, dismissing, or just not being present.
So it's not just about the content of the interaction, it's about the emotional response.
Exactly. Because those little moments, they might seem insignificant, but they accumulate over time.
Like if you consistently turn towards each other, it strengthens the bond, but if you keep turning away, it creates distance.
Exactly. And you might not even realize you're doing it. Like in the book, there's this example with Lena and Carl. Lena comes home and says something kind of snarky about the messy table.
Classic.
Right? But what she really wants is help. She's bidding for connection, even if it comes out in a kind of negative way.
So it's about reading between the lines, understanding the underlying need.
Exactly. And Carl, he initially misses it. He gets offensive and they end up arguing. But then later, he realizes he could have just, offered to help clear the table, turn towards her bid instead of away.
So it's about being mindful, being present, and really paying attention to those little moments.
Exactly. And honestly, in today's world, with all the distractions, it's easier than ever to miss those bids. We're constantly checking our phones, scrolling through social media. It's like we're always half present.
So turning towards, it's also about being intentional, choosing to put down the phone and really engage with your partner.
100%. And the book, it actually gives you 51 specific examples of turning towards activities. Everything from having a meaningful conversation to going for a walk together to just, sitting and listening without offering advice.
It's a lot of options.
It is. But the key is finding what works for you and your partner, making a conscious effort to be present and responsive to each other's bids for connection.
Okay, I'm getting the feeling this is a lot more work than it sounds.
It can be, but it's the good kind of work, the kind that builds a strong and loving relationship.
Fair enough. And principle number 4.
All right, principle number 4, the negative perspective. This is what happens when you don't consistently practice those first 3 principles.
Oh, so it's like the dark side of the force.
Basically, when negativity starts to dominate your relationship, you start seeing everything through that lens. Even neutral or positive actions from your partner, you interpret them negatively.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You expect the worst, so you see the worst.
Exactly. And it becomes this vicious cycle. Because when you're constantly looking for flaws and expecting negativity, you're less likely to give your partner the benefit of the doubt.
So even if they're trying to do something nice, you're suspicious.
Exactly. And the more you focus on the negative, the harder it becomes to see the positive. It's like a downward spiral.
And once you're in that spiral, it's got to be really hard to break out of, right?
It is. Because when you're stuck in the negative perspective, even attempts to repair the relationship, they can backfire.
Because your partner can sense that negativity, even if you're trying to be nice.
Exactly. It's like this underlying distrust that makes it really hard to connect authentically.
So basically, if you want to avoid the negative perspective, you got to actively cultivate those positive habits from the first three principles.
Precisely. Building those love maps, sharing fondness and admiration, turning towards each other instead of away, that's how you create a strong and positive foundation for your relationship.
Okay, I'm seeing the bigger picture now. So what's principle number 5?
Principle number 5 is manage conflict. And this one, it's not about avoiding conflict altogether.
Because let's be real, that's impossible, right?
Yeah.
Even the happiest couples disagree sometimes.
Exactly. And Gottman, he actually distinguishes between two types of problems in relationships. Solvable problems, which are like those everyday disagreements that can be resolved with good communication, and perpetual problems, which are those deeper, more fundamental differences that might never fully go away.
Okay, so like arguing about whose turn it is to do the dishes versus, I don't know, having completely different political views.
Perfect example. And the key is knowing how to manage both types of problems effectively. Because even solvable problems, if they're not handled well, they can turn into perpetual sources of resentment.
So basically, don't sweat the small stuff, but make sure you don't let it fester either.
Exactly. And Gottman, he lays out this 5-step process for resolving solvable problems. First step, soften your startup.
Okay, so starting a conversation about a sensitive topic without, immediately accusing your partner of everything wrong in the world.
Right. It's about approaching those conversations with respect and understanding, even if you're feeling frustrated. He actually has this harsh startup questionnaire to help you see if this is an area where you could improve.
A questionnaire for arguing. Now this I gotta see.
It's actually really helpful. And then step 2, learn to make and receive repair attempts.
So like those little things you say or do to de-escalate a conflict before it spirals out of control.
Exactly. Things like saying, I'm sorry, suggesting a break, even just using humor to lighten the mood.
Because sometimes you just need to take a step back and breathe, right?
Exactly. And recognizing those moments, both in yourself and in your partner, that's step 3. Soothe yourself and each other.
Okay, so like taking a time out when things get too heated.
Exactly. Gottman actually suggests a 20-minute break if your heart rate gets too high. It's about recognizing when you're flooded with emotion and taking steps to calm down.
So basically, don't try to solve problems when you're both seeing red.
Precisely. And then, step 4, compromise.
Ah, the art of meeting in the middle.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that in a relationship, you're not always going to get your way. You got to be willing to bend, to find solutions that work for both of you.
And this probably requires a good dose of empathy, right? Putting yourself in your partner's shoes.
Definitely. And finally, step 5, process any grievances so they don't linger.
So like making sure you don't sweep anything under the rug and let it fester.
Exactly. It's about addressing those underlying hurts and resentments so you can move forward together. And Gottman, he even provides a specific exercise for this, the aftermath of a fight exercise, where you can talk through your feelings and needs and really process what happened.
Okay, so it's a whole system for dealing with conflict. Not just avoiding it, but actually working through it in a healthy way.
Precisely. And the best part is, he gives specific examples of how to apply these steps to common conflict areas, like technology use, stress, in-laws, money, housework, even the transition to parenthood.
So he's not just talking theory, he's giving practical advice for real-life situations.
Exactly. And that's what makes his work so valuable. All right, are you ready for principle number 6?
Hit me with it.
Principle number 6 is overcome gridlock. And this one, it's about dealing with those really tough issues, the ones that seem impossible to resolve.
Ah, the never-ending arguments. We all have them.
Right. And Gottman, he calls these perpetual problems. They're those fundamental differences that might stem from your personalities, your values, your upbringing, all sorts of things.
So it's not about trying to change your partner or force them to see things your way.
Exactly. Because with gridlock, that just leads to more conflict and frustration. Instead, it's about understanding and respecting those differences and finding ways to live with them peacefully.
Easier said than done.
It can be. But Gottman, he provides a roadmap. The first step is to recognize that gridlock is often fueled by hidden dreams.
Hidden dreams. Like what?
Like in the book, there's this couple, Ed and Luann. They constantly fought about Luann's horse, Daphne. Ed thought it was a waste of time and money. But for Luann, the horse represented freedom, independence, a connection to nature. It was a symbol of a deeper dream.
Ah, so it wasn't really about the horse. It was about something much bigger.
Exactly. And until Ed understood that, they were stuck in gridlock. So Gottman encourages couples to become dream detectives, to really dig deep and understand the underlying dreams and values that are driving those perpetual conflicts.
Okay, so it's about listening, empathizing, trying to see things from your partner's perspective.
Exactly. And once you understand those hidden dreams, you can start working towards a temporary compromise. Not a solution that completely eliminates the difference, but a way to manage it respectfully.
So, like, finding a way to coexist with those differences without letting them control your relationship.
Precisely. And the book, it gives a bunch of examples of how couples have done this, like agreeing to disagree about certain topics, finding ways to support each other's dreams, even if you don't fully understand them, even just setting boundaries around those conversations so they don't take over your lives.
So it's about finding a way to live with those differences without letting them destroy your relationship.
Exactly. And that takes a lot of maturity, communication, and a willingness to see things from your partner's perspective. But the payoff is huge.
Makes sense. And finally, principle number 7.
All right, the grand finale. Principle number 7 is create shared meaning. And this one, it's about going beyond just the day-to-day stuff and building a deeper sense of purpose together.
Okay, so like finding a shared mission, something that gives your relationship a sense of meaning beyond just, paying bills and doing laundry.
Exactly. It's about creating a unique microculture within your relationship with your own traditions, rituals, and shared values.
So like those inside jokes that only you two understand.
That's part of it, but it goes deeper than that. It's about sharing your histories, your beliefs, your dreams for the future.
So like telling each other stories about your childhoods, talking about your hopes and fears, creating a shared narrative.
Exactly. And Gottman, he gives this great example of a couple, Helen and Kevin. They started out as what they called a yuppie marriage, focused on their careers and individual goals. But then they started intentionally creating shared meaning.
How to do that?
They started exploring their family histories together, sharing their values, talking about their dreams for their future as a couple. They even started doing volunteer work together, finding a cause they both believed in.
So they went from a me focus to a we focus.
Exactly. And it made their relationship so much stronger because when you have shared meaning, it gives you a sense of purpose and connection that goes beyond just the day-to-day stuff.
That makes sense. And how do you actually go about creating this shared meaning? Like, are there specific steps?
Gottman breaks it down into 3 key areas. First, creating rituals of connection. This can be anything from celebrating holidays in a special way to having a regular date night to just making time to connect every day.
So it's about those little routines that create a sense of predictability and connection.
Exactly. And then second, support for each other's roles. This means recognizing and respecting the different roles your partner plays in life.
Like being a parent, a friend, a professional, all of that.
Exactly. And it's about showing up for them in those roles, offering support and encouragement.
So like being their biggest cheerleader, even if you don't always understand what they're going through.
Exactly. And finally, the third area is shared goals. This is about having both individual dreams and aspirations, as well as shared goals that you're working towards together.
So like talking about your bucket list, making plans for the future, dreaming big together.
Exactly. And it's not just about the big stuff. It can be as simple as, I don't know, deciding to learn a new skill together or starting a new hobby. The key is finding those things that give you both a sense of purpose and excitement.
Wow. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground here. 7 principles, each one with its own nuances and complexities.
Yeah.
But if I had to sum it up, what would you say is the overall takeaway?
I think the biggest takeaway is that relationships, they're not about finding the perfect person. They're about 2 imperfect people choosing to build something amazing together. And Gottman's 7 principles, they're like this roadmap, this guide to navigating the inevitable challenges and building a love that lasts.
And the cool thing is, it's not about some magical formula. It's about intentional effort, consistent communication, and a willingness to show up for each other, even when it's hard.
Exactly. And the best part is Gottman's research shows that even small changes, like dedicating just 6 extra hours per week to your relationship, can make a huge difference.
6 hours, that's doable.
It is. And it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, A strong and loving relationship, that's one of the most valuable things in life. So, yeah, I hope our listeners walk away from this deep dive feeling inspired, maybe even a little bit challenged, to create the kind of love they truly deserve.
I love that. And hey, maybe after listening to all this, our listeners will start paying closer attention to their own marital poop detectors, right?
They're what now?
You know, those little warning signs, those recurring thoughts or feelings that tell you something's not quite right in the relationship.
Oh, right, right. Like that gut feeling that maybe it's time for a conversation.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Because sometimes just acknowledging those signals and being willing to talk about them, that's the first step towards building a stronger and more fulfilling relationship.
Couldn't agree more. Well, on that note, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the 7 principles for making marriage work.
It's been a pleasure.
And until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep believing in the power of love.
Hear, hear.